Of the Standing Committee on the Auditor-General. On this Friday morning, let me welcome all members present. Also the AG, Ms. Maluleki, you are most welcome, and Team AGSA. The members from the SIU and also the Minister of Justice and her team will join us a little later at 8:30, so we'll welcome them at that stage. But all support staff as well, you are most welcome, parliamentary staff, members of the public watching us, and members from the media, you are most welcome. Honourable members, we are pressed for time. As always, there are other parliamentary activities that's taking place later today, and members indicated that they have obligations in that regard. So we did change the starting time, and we're starting a little earlier to accommodate those members. And we also changed the order of the agenda a little so that we can conduct our business in that fashion and finish as quickly as possible, but deal with these important matters that are on our agenda. Let me ask Zubaida if there's any apologies that we should note.
Good morning, Chairperson. Yes, we have one apology from Honourable Beasley.
Thank you very much. Any other apologies, honourable members? Nothing. Thank you very much. Then we can continue with the adoption of our agenda. Zubaida, if you can flight that for us, please. It was circulated, and as I alluded to, we changed for order. The important issues that we are dealing with today is the appointment of the Deputy Auditor-General, that in accordance with the Public Audit Act is the prerogative of the AG, but after consultation with the Standing Committee, and that is what will happen then with our first item, where the AG will present and do that consultation with regards to her preferred candidate and identified candidate in that regard. We'll engage on that issue. Then we'll have the briefing by the Minister of Justice, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and also the Special Investigating Unit with regards to matters that material irregularities referred to it, and the process in that regard, and we'll engage on that matter. Then it is proposed that we deal with the remuneration of the AG in terms of the prescriptions of the Act and the recommendations made by the independent constitutional body, and we'll resolve on that matter. You can go down, Zubaida, and then if we have time, we'll deal with the minutes of our previous two meetings, and then we'll adjourn and we'll schedule a meeting for somewhere next week or as soon as possible to deal with some of our other issues that we deferred from this agenda that relates to our annual performance plan of the committee and also reports, and hopefully we can also then approve and consider and approve the report on the remuneration of the AG as we then conclude our deliberations on that matter, and we can take it to the National Assembly. So that is the proposed agenda. Is there a mover for the agenda as proposed?
Okay. Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the agenda is Honourable Mwale.
Thank you, Honourable Mwale, and Honourable Mare seconded. And I think Honourable Subrati also supports. So then the agenda is adopted. Thank you very much, colleagues. And we can then move on to our first item. Let me once again welcome you, AG, and give you the opportunity to consult with us on the appointment of the Deputy Auditor-General. Thank you, AG.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and good morning to yourself and to the honourable members of the Standing Committee on the AG. Chair, SCoAG members would be aware of the vacancy in the position of the Deputy Auditor-General, and I have previously indicated that the recruitment process is underway. The role of the DAG is that of the Head of Administration and the Accounting Officer of the institution, and as per Section 31(2)(a) of the Public Audit Act, the DAG is appointed for a period of 5 years. There's one term of 5 years, which is renewable for an additional 5-year term. And Section 31 provides that the AG appoints the Deputy Auditor-General after consultation with SCoAG. The recruitment process that we mapped out and implemented was as follows. The qualification criteria were set out, specifying, amongst others, a postgraduate qualification and registration as a professional auditor, and specifically set out that it must be a member that is that of a chartered accountancy body, a member that has at least 15 years of relevant executive experience and relevant competencies. We advertised broadly in February of 2026. We extended that period to March 2026. We also then engaged the services of external recruitment agencies and search agencies. And following that, we received and processed a total of 15 applications, out of which we identified only 2 candidates that we could interview for this position. 2 candidates were then given a case study to prepare, and they presented that case study and were engaged upon that case study by a panel that I chaired, a 7-member panel. After that case study, in each instance, the candidate was then subjected to a full interview process. Out of that, the panel unanimously agreed on 1 candidate, who is Ms. Bongiseni Ngoma, to be taken forward to the next step, which was the assessments as well as the I beg your pardon, the specific assessments and confirmations. We've then finalized the process of verifications as well as the executive assessment, and have concluded that Ms. Mbongiseni Ngoma is the individual that we would like to appoint. She is an internal candidate, having joined the AGSA in 2012, has served on the executive committee since then. She's occupied various roles, starting with that of the Chief Finance Officer, and in that role acquitted herself to a point where she was awarded the highly coveted CFO of the Year award. After a tenure as CFO of the institution, she then occupied the role of the Head of Audit. A combination of her different executive roles within the AGSA has given her the breadth and depth of experience within the institution and what it does here and abroad in a way that positions her extremely well to take on the duties of the Deputy Auditor-General. I am then at this point concluding the process by consulting with SCoAG in the hope that you will have seen the submission I've made to yourselves, as well as the detailed CV of the candidate. And I would now hand over to you, Chair, to provide the opportunity for members to engage on my presentation thus far. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maluleke. Thank you for the presentation on that matter, and for the consultation and the way that you have conducted that. Members, you hear the process and also the preferred candidate identified through the process. Any questions for clarity and also any engagement further from honourable members? You can indicate by raising your hands. Honourable Vilakazi, I see your hand. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, Chair, and good morning to colleagues. By the way, Chair, so where are we in the process? Is this a recommendation? What are we doing? Are we just accepting the recommendation? Are we talking to the candidate. Just some clarity, please, on where we are exactly.
Thank you, Honourable Vilakazi. The Act provides that the prerogative of the appointment is that of the AG, but after consultation with the Standing Committee. Now, members would have received a legal opinion. Now, the legal opinion was sought on actually if this meeting should or could be closed due to the personal nature and the labor practices and processes and so forth. But the legal opinion also points out and reaffirms what after consultation means. And there is a legal position with regards to also the difference between in consultation and after consultation. And after consultation does not mean that we resolve on the issue and that if we say yes or no or A or B, that the AG must follow that advice. But the advice that we give, if the process is explained to us, if we ask questions on the process and on the reasons for the conclusion, and the let's call it a preliminary conclusion by the AG on the matter, and we differ from that preliminary conclusion or the reasons given, then the AG must apply a mind to the position of the Standing Committee and show that she applies a mind and that she does not only regard the consultation as a formality, and then she has satisfied the statutory obligation of consulting with the Standing Committee on the Auditor-General. So I hope that explains it, but you can also refer to the legal opinion that also elaborates on case law and on the position in the South African jurisprudence with regards to after consultation and what it means and what it should mean and what should be done. So this is not just a formality, but it is also not that we engage with the candidate or that we have an interview with the candidate. The process went its way. There was a panel, as the AG alluded to, and we must satisfy ourselves that we think that the process that were followed to reach the conclusion on who the suitable candidate is satisfies rationality and satisfies all the sound legal grounds for appointing the best candidate and suitable candidate. And if we can do that, then that is a fruitful consultation, and then we express ourselves in that fashion. Any other engagements, honourable members? Honourable Mwali, thank you very much, followed by Honourable Subrati.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. From where I sit, Chair, and from the presentation of the Auditor-General, as Umkhonto Wesizwe Party, we of the view that the process followed to appoint the Deputy Auditor-General was fair. One, it allowed time for applications, and the AG formulated the panel with experts on recruitment, and the panel also recommended that this candidate must be appointed for this position, and all processes then have been followed thereafter. And therefore, Chair, from where we sit as members of this committee, we then see it fit that the candidates should be appointed because it has followed the fair process, considering also that this is a prerogative of the Office of the Auditor-General to do this appointment. So I think we allowed, or we are of the view that the AG can go ahead with the appointment. And also, Chair, one last thing. For continuity, because of institutional knowledge of the candidate. The candidate has been with the institution for over 15 years at an executive level, so it meets the requirements for her to be appointed, and also the fact that she's a woman. So she can be appointed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Mwali. I think that's a valid point. Honourable Subrati.
Thank you, and good morning to yourself, Chairperson. Good morning to the AG and colleagues on the call. Chairperson, I want to also support Honourable Mwali in his presentation. Let us firstly welcome this opportunity to engage in a transparent and open process with the AGSA, to have received as the SCoAG the process that was followed, and the candidate that has been presented to us. So I want to then, as the African National Congress delegation in this committee, to also support the presentation that has been done before us. And in supporting that, I also then want to echo that the candidate that has been shortlisted, which is what I would prefer to call, or suggested to the committee, is a candidate that, in my view, would therefore be familiar with the acute challenges that the AGSA faces, issues surrounding its funding, issues surrounding the embracing of AI and technology, issues surrounding the various challenges that AGSA faces. And I think with her expertise, her institutional knowledge, it augurs well for her to contribute meaningfully to the continuity and bringing us closer to making the AGSA a more efficient institution. With those, Chairperson, I support the presentation and the recommended candidates that is put before us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Subrati. Honourable Vilakazi, followed by Honourable Murray.
Thank you, Chair. I support the comments made before me. I would just add that in addition to what's been said, I would be interested, and I think maybe as a committee we will be introduced to the candidate once the appointment is finalized, just to hear their thoughts about what they think about where the Office of the Auditor-General of South Africa is currently, what their priorities are going to be in this role, and just what they see as the pertinent matters within the organization. I'm hoping that we will be able to have that opportunity to interact with the candidate once they are appointed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Vilakazi. Honourable Murray.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will be very short. I support the recommendation as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Murray. Sweet and short. And that's not the movie. Honourable Murray will know the movie. A lot of other colleagues won't. Honourable members, thank you for your input. I think I just have one question. I know that I think it's in the presentation, the written presentation, if I remember correctly. But I think for transparency, AG, if you can maybe just allude to a certain extent to the other applications received, and just what the deciding factor then was, and what the other applications, the other candidates that were shortlisted, what that entailed as well. I think that will just also be good to ventilate that in this consultation. But I think you've heard the inputs, and I'll give you an opportunity to comment also in that regard. AG.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and to the honourable members for their support and comments. Sorry, I'm just struggling with my camera. The criteria that we set out in the advert, Honourable Vessels, included that the individual must be registered as a chartered accountant. And that was quite important because the Public Audit Act sets out what the qualification for an Auditor General would be. Part of the role of the Deputy Auditor General is to step in the instances where the Auditor General is unable to fulfill their work or their duties for any reason. And so if anything should happen to the Auditor General in that he or she is unable to fulfill their duties, the Deputy Auditor General steps into that role as the acting Auditor General until such time that an Auditor General is then appointed. It allows for continuity and sustainability within the office. So we had to be mindful that it was somebody who could fulfill that role as a registered auditor. We looked at 15 years of executive experience as a minimum. We considered their leadership capabilities. We looked at whether or not they would have a track record and therefore be expected to fulfill the duties associated with serving as the head of administration, understanding the public sector as well as the private sector, understanding the complexities of leading an institution as significant as what we have at 4,000 people and almost 5 billion rand of audit revenues a year, with the challenges and opportunities that a number of the honourable members have alluded to, specifically the matters around needing to drive efficiency on the operational side, and also complement the audit machinery in terms of what needs to get done there in delivering on the core mandate. We looked carefully at their demonstrated performance and results-driven approaches, which we believe are critical for the role of the Auditor General. We received a number of applications. We looked more closely at 15 applications, and this after having tried to even approach individuals from a headhunting point of view from the market, and a combination of all those activities led us to 2 candidates that we were then believing were meeting the key criteria we had set and were possible candidates to be assessed for possible appointment. So following that process, we were able to get to this particular candidate. I believe wholeheartedly that we have run a process that allowed a number of different people to put their hands up for this opportunity. And in many ways, we've been able to get to a good candidate that can fulfill the duties of the office as it currently needs and will need going into the future. Thank you very much, Honourable Vessels.
Thank you, AG. I do appreciate that, and I think that's meaningful also for transparency with regards to that. And it's valid, and the committee takes that into account. Thank you for that consultation and on this matter. We will then officially resolve, but I think it's apparent that members do support and do not have any different view on the preferred candidate. We can then move on, honourable members, but I just want to make sure if the Honourable Minister has joined us yet. She is scheduled to actually only join us at past. Zubeida, am I correct that she's not present yet?
Yes, she's not here yet.
Okay. Honourable Members, then I'm going to ask that we deal with the minutes of our previous meetings in the meantime to optimize our time. Zubeida, if you can flight the first set of minutes, I think it was the 13th of March. It was distributed to honourable members well in advance, so I do consider the minutes read. That was the 13th of March. You can go on Zubaida. I'm going to not go page for page. You can just go through it quickly. And that's for minutes of the 13th of March. Any corrections, honourable members? Any mover for the adoption?
Okay.
Honourable Murray moves. A seconder? Honourable Mofokeng, are you seconding?
Yes, good morning, Chairperson, and everyone on the platform. Yes, I'm seconding the adoption of the minutes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Mofokeng. Appreciate. Any objection? No objection. Then those minutes are approved. Can we move to the next set, please? That was our previous meeting, the engagement with the DPCI. Was also circulated, and I also consider it read. You can just quickly move through, Zubaida, see who was present. The deliberations on the presentation received, and that's that set of minutes. We also discussed the study tour at that meeting. Any corrections? None. A mover for the adoption?
Murray.
Honourable Murray moves. Honourable Vilakazi, are you seconding?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Vilakazi. Any objection to the adoption? No objection. Then those minutes are also approved. Thank you very much. We then still have 2 minutes because, as members are aware, the original starting time was at 8:30, and the minister was scheduled for 8:30, and then we moved the meeting earlier. So we are just waiting for them to join. Honourable Vilakazi.
Thank you, Chair. I just noted that on the minutes of the on the minutes of the 13th March, there was something about a visit to the office of the Auditor-General to look at the impressive work that's taking place there. I wonder if there have been any developments on that up to now.
Thank you, Honourable Vilakazi. We did have that visit. We conducted it. I can't remember the date. I think it was the 27th of March. Zubaida can assist me, and other members can assist me. I think, Honourable Vilakazi, you were not available at that stage or on that date, but we did conduct that site visit, and there's also a report on that. We deferred the report last week, and we also removed it from our agenda for today to consider it at a special meeting that I referred to at the beginning of this meeting, that we'll try to have such a household meeting to also consider that report. But we did have that visit, and it was quite informative, and I think also a very good presentation that we received there on automation and on the developments in that regard. And it's an exciting world with regards to the automation, and also further developments with regards to artificial intelligence, even in the near future, in the audit process, and especially the tasks that usually take up a lot of time that can now be automated, and we had that engagement and that presentation there, and I think it was very fruitful. But thank you very much, Honourable Vilakazi. Honourable members, we then just wait for the delegation from Justice to join us, the Minister and team, and also the members from the Special Investigative Unit, SIU, to join us. I see there are certain members or certain members of the delegation that's already in the meeting, and you are most welcome. And we'll just give a few minutes for the rest to join us. Also welcome to other members that have joined us in the meantime. I see Honourable Mente is also present, and I see some other members that have joined us since the beginning of the meeting. Thank you and welcome. Let's give a few minutes. Zubaida will alert us if all our guests have joined.
Chairperson, I see the parliamentary liaison for the Minister, Ms. Ndudani, is here, if she can indicate.
Ma'am, if you can please indicate if the Minister is on her way and when she will be joining us.
Good morning, honorable members. Minister will join. I'm just quickly calling her. She will join shortly.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We then give a minute. Thank you.
Chairperson, the Minister is on the platform.
Thank you very much, Zubaida. Thank you, colleagues, for your patience in this regard. And thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for joining us. You are most welcome. We had this engagement. We had an engagement with the Special Investigative Unit last year, September, on the material irregularities referred to it by the Auditor-General in the course of its powers in terms of the Public Audit Act. And we had the progress report then. We resolved that we will have an annual engagement. And we then also deliberated on the issue that it would be important to also have a proper engagement with the Minister and with the Department of Justice with regards to these referrals, as there's a process in the department that's related to this and determines how fast it also happens, and the proclamation of these investigations occur, and before the investigations then can actually commence. So it's important for the committee to also engage with the Minister and with the Department of Justice on these matters, especially as it relates to the proclamation by the President thereof. So we We are very thankful, Minister, for your time. We know that you are very busy and your schedule is very full, and we really do appreciate your presence. I am then going to hand over to you, Minister, and you can direct who is going to present from your team side, and then also hand over to the SIU for their presentation. I know there's a presentation by your department and then also by the SIU, and I hand over to you to direct the presentation, the presenters on these presentations. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to you. Good morning, honorable members. And thank you very much for your understanding, Chair. And sorry for joining a few minutes late. I'm in my third meeting for the day as we speak. So I was leaving the other meeting to join here. I did request early departure because today is the last, it's the sitting to mark the end of term of or tenure of Judge Shikri in Constitutional Court. So all of us as stakeholders, we attend and give our message. So I'm representing the executive in that sitting, last sitting of Judge Shikri in Constitutional Court. So I do apologize. I would love to stay throughout. However, at 22:10, they've requested me to join the processions and be in the chamber. Chairperson, just to explain the work that we do and appreciate the oversight. From our side, as the department and minister, as both executive authority for the department and SIU, we consistently commit to ensuring that SIU is supported and is able to do its work without hindrance. And we try our level best to ensure that matters are processed timeously. I've consistently requested the teams, both in terms of the SIU and the department, to share with me where there are difficulties and also where there are challenges so that we can intervene. I think one thing that I've picked up in this week, which I would have to start monitoring as well, is communication, because what happens is that when the submission's done by SIU, it goes directly to the department, and then it comes to the minister at the final point where the minister signs and recommends to the president for proclamation. So sometimes there's to and fro, and I think the department will explain some of the areas. For example, there's one that I had to deal with where you found that the value of the investigations will be lower than the cost of investigation as well. It's one of the challenges that we consistently have to deal with. And another engagement which I had with SIU was, for example, you find that when they go into an area, we do a proclamation. You find that we do a narrow proclamation. And then as they are there, they find things, then they must reapply for an extension of the proclamation that they have been able to do. And one of the issues, I said, perhaps as they draft the proclamations and they send them through for recommendation, let's do them as broad as enough. We can do what is the source, but allow them to say when they are doing this investigation and pick up something so that it doesn't delay the turnaround time. I think that was the experience I had as I arrived and engaging at that time with Advocate Mutibi, to say, I'm noticing that some of the delays in the proclamation is because or the delays in the work, you'd have a proclamation, and then you've got to have an amended proclamation at some point. So that's one of the things that we thought that is important for us to be able to give attention to. But broadly, currently, as we see it this week, I've looked, and the team will present, there are about 4 of the, one has been signed off. The SIRA one was submitted to the president, has been authorized already. So the matters will be out. The Gazette will be out. And then we've got about 4 that I think, 6 that are there that the team will do. So I will allow the acting DG, Ms. Pile, to take us through in terms of the presentation so that they can explain, one, the process that is being taken through, by the department when they look at proclamation, explain it through. So it starts with the submission into the department, then the department will do evaluation. If there's information that is missing, they go back to SIU to ask for more information, to clear the matters, to verify information so that the proclamation does make sense. And then once they are clear and things have been finalized, and I must explain, Chair, when they do that, they don't alter the investigation. The law does not allow them to alter, but they must make sure that there's compliance, including myself. When I receive a package in front of me, my job is not to question whether my job is to look in terms of compliance, whether they've met the requirements, it's in compliance with the law, and it meets the standard, and therefore it's explanatory, so that when I send it to the president for proclamation, would have done the work. I will do the checklist to check that they've been able to have the necessary letters that are required and all those things, primary things that are needed, and therefore then submit to the president for authorization. We've been able to move quite a number of them in terms of authorization so that they can be able to do the work. But without wasting time, Chair, let me allow the Acting Director General. I'm joined, maybe just to indicate, because it's not our portfolio committee, Chair, so that I can be clear. We've got on the line my two advisors, Advocate January and Dr. Marwala, who are my special advisors. And then we are joined by the Acting Director General, Ms. Pile. In terms of primary responsibility, she's the DDG responsible for legislative work. So ordinarily, this is where this work falls under her branch, legislative development and work. I'm trying to check who's also here. I saw CHC as well. CHC is the chief director in that branch. And then I've got my PLO here. I don't know if I've missed anyone in my department. In SIU, I know you are used to meeting with SIU. Mr. Lekgetho is here as acting head of SIU. I've seen Selby, who is here as well. I've seen Pranesh as well, who is part of the meeting. I think those are the ones that I've seen from both the entities. If I missed anyone, both of them, acting DG, when he speaks, when she speaks, she can highlight, and Mr. Lekgetho, when he speaks, he can highlight. I've seen those that I've noticed on the line that they've joined. Acting DG, let me hand over to you to present, and then Mr. Lekgetho will follow.
Okay. Good morning, Minister, and good morning, Chairpersons. Chair, I will just switch on my camera for a short while and then switch it off due to connectivity. I wish to greet all the honorable members. And this morning, Chair, I am joined by Mr. Makulubete as well from the Legislative Development Branch. He's a senior official who's also scrutinizing the work that goes through. So if someone may flight the presentation for me, please. Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. We may move on to the next slide. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Chair, as indicated, the purpose of the presentation is to indicate the progress with SIU proclamations. In this slide, where we talk about what we've done in the last 2 financial years, in 2024-2025, we processed 47 proclamations up to the stage of publishing them. We count what has been published as the final stage. In 2025-26, we processed 17 SIU proclamations. The concerns relating to the proclamations and for an indication of the work and the scrutiny that the department is required to undertake their work. The following issues were generally identified regarding motivations from the SIU, namely the existence of numerous investigations by other entities and private bodies over the same subject matter, resulting in multiple investigations at huge cost to the state. So in this regard, Chair, you would find that the same matter, for example, is investigated by the public protector, by the oftentimes by a criminal investigation, or the entity itself had authorized investigations or sourced investigators through different companies to investigate the matter after issues were found to have been that required investigation. The next issue we found is that finalized investigation, by the time the AGSA issues both the audit finding and the material irregularity notices, the disagreements between the AGSA and the Auditor-General and relevant entities or institutions. And in this regard, Chair, with regard to material irregularities, and the question we raise is the SIU the appropriate vehicle to resolve such disagreements and to enforce the findings of the AGSA? So what we find in the motivations is that when you read through the documents and the submissions, you find that there was a divergence of opinion between the Auditor-General and the entity that is required to be investigated, and they were not necessarily dealt with in the process of finding of a material irregularity. And then it appears that this now becomes a job of the SIU to now deal with. The lack of supporting letters from the relevant entities to be investigated where required. Some matters end up being processed without letters, which is not desirable, as there may be certain relevant factors that should be mentioned for consideration. And in this regard, Chair, I would like to raise the issue of cost and why it's important to get a letter of support. The issue the issue of cost is that the entity that's being investigated is liable for the cost of the investigation. And it also results in a huge debt book for the SIU. Then the second issue raised by the Minister already is the amount of costs, the amount involved in the alleged maladministration, and whether it's warranted for the SIU investigation on the basis of a possible recovery and a possible investigation as against the cost of an investigation by the SIU. And the longer it takes for an investigation, obviously there are more costs, and that's also another factor that we consider. Costs of the SIU investigation in many municipalities who are cash-strapped, as opposed to the possible value that can be gained from an investigation, particularly where other investigations and findings have already made and which were clearly not implemented. And the cost implications of investigations by the SIU appear not to be a consideration on whether to investigate a matter or not when it is submitted to the department. Next slide, please. We also consider the following when we look at a SIU, whether an SIU investigation should be authorized, whether the institution is a state institution, that's the legal requirement in the Act, whether the allegation involves amounts of approximately 2.5 million. Now, this is not in terms of the Act, but it's some kind of a benchmark for us to say, this is the cost of this is what the amount involves, but if you proceed, if it's lesser than that amount, if you proceed with an investigation, what would be the cost to the institution in terms of the investigation? What would be the possible recoveries? And should there be other ways in which to investigate the matter? Then we move on to the question of who made the allegations to the SIU and what information or evidence was provided. If findings of the material irregularity were referred to the SIU by the AGSA in terms of the Public Audit Act, substantiated by a letter received from the AGSA and various annexures, whether the allegations appear to fall within the ambit of Section 2.2 of the Act and are serious enough to warrant an investigation by the SIU. And in this regard, Chair, one must bear in mind that when we look at it, we look at the overall purpose of the SIU legislation, what it was intended to do, and whether the kind of investigation that they want to embark upon falls within that broader mandate and intention behind that legislation. The prospects of recovery of some of the damages or losses which the state may have suffered, and in this regard, Chair, the time of the offense or the alleged offenses or wrongdoing become very critical because you would find that obviously in most institutions, people would have left, you would not be able to trace them, and what are those costs recoverable? Next slide, please. Moving on to further issues, whether there are any current or pending investigations or proceedings into the allegations. And in this regard, Chair, you would find that the entities themselves would have paid a lot of money to conduct investigations through private companies, private attorneys, and then sometimes there would be findings that would say that action must be taken or disciplinary action must be taken, but these were not followed up on. And if those are followed up, whether that would resolve the issue of the maladministration and those kind of issues. The foreseeable legal risk to the proposed investigation into allegations set out in paragraph 4.2. Further, what is the opinion of the head of the SIU should the matters be referred to the SIU for investigation? Whether the SIU has a human resource capacity and expertise to undertake an investigation of the nature of the matter. And I think very often, Chair, the costs of the SIU, it would be difficult to analyze whether they are using internal resources who are employed or whether they are outsourcing. And when you outsource, as we understand, there are additional costs required. Whether the investigation will have the added benefit of exposing corrupt employees or officials, which may lead to the curtailment of future unauthorized, irregular, and wasteful expenditure, and identifying shortcomings in the risk management systems of the institution to be investigated. Next slide, please. In light of the considerations mentioned above, the department scrutinizes the motivation and draft proclamation, assessed legal and factual issues contained in the motivation, and reverts to the SIU for clarification of certain issues where necessary. Upon receipt of the clarifications, the department further engages and prepares a memorandum to the minister and a draft president's note, proclamation, president's minute, and a recommendation to the minister to advise the president to issue a proclamation. Where matters of a legal nature arise, legal opinions are sometimes sought to address the issues. The department also liaises with the legal advisors in the presidency in relation to SIU proclamations. And Chair, I would like to pause at this point to mention the case, the Telkom case, where and a proclamation was set aside, and I believe that matter is still on appeal. I can be corrected because I see it's not mentioned in the presentation. And this proclamation supports the kind of scrutiny that the department is required to perform when a proclamation comes in, because the department cannot be seen as a post box to authorize proclamation or support or promote with the minister and the president to authorize a proclamation without properly scrutinizing the legal areas. And Chair, I must also mention that in the unit that processes these applications, they are all of them are highly qualified legal staff, starting at level 8, which requires at least 8 years of proper legal expertise, and the level obviously goes higher as we move up to the approval levels. The minister is responsible to exercise control over the SIU and to advise the president on the applications, whether to consider issuing or not. Therefore, the motivation must be evaluated as a whole. The role of the department and the ministry is not to merely rubber stamp. I've already spoken to that issue. but it's to apply itself and to advise the minister accordingly of any shortcomings. And this area of work must not be seen as interference with granting a proclamation, but rather as a means to satisfy the requirements of legal advisors when they are advising the minister, and ultimately when the minister advises the president. Next slide, please. Processing delays. The unit dedicated to processing legislation has a huge legislative mandate. We do have severe capacity challenges. However, these are being addressed. We are in the process of filling 5 further posts, which is at an advanced stage, and those posts are imminent. The filling of those posts are imminent. Next slide. The listed matters. There were several matters that were listed in the SIU presentation. I believe there were about 9 of them. Military veterans, a memo and relevant documents has been prepared for transmission. Then the public works memo, there are 2 of them. 1 combined memo and relevant documents have been prepared and are being submitted to the minister. But these must still go through the phases of support by the officials. But once it reaches the stage of submission, there's very little further work or scrutiny that needs to be done, because the matter is now ready for submission for the minister to approve, because all the legal issues and consultations with the SIU or legal advisors would have taken place. So this is really at the final stages, and I think the minister's turnaround time is about 2 or 3 days to sign these memos, because everything would have been in order. On education, there are several construction of a primary school. There's another 3 matters for this construction of a primary school. 1 combined memo and relevant documents are being prepared. The next slide, please. This has also reached an advanced stage. The Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality, the documents have been prepared, the same situation in that it's at an advanced stage. And the PCIRA Regulatory Authority, the president has already signed, and we are preparing to publish this. We are preparing to publish that proclamation. The motivations on overpayments and standing time in the Northern Cape Department of Road and Public Works has been processed as 1 proclamation. The motivations for Chilole and Maleboho and Caleb primary schools in the Free State has also been processed as 1 proclamation. Therefore, instead of 9 proclamations as indicated by the SIU in slide 39, there will be 6 proclamations that we will process to the minister. Next slide, please. That's the end of the presentation, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Acting DG. Mr. Legeuto, you can continue, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good morning to the Minister, and good morning to honorable members, and good morning to the Acting DG, official from the Department of Justice, and official from the SIU, and everybody in the platform. Chair, I don't have the rights to. Oh, I do have. Let me share my screen. I'm not sure whether is it visible, Chair.
It is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Chair. I will present on behalf of SIU, and I'm really recovering from a flu. Then, if my voice doesn't come through, I'll hand over to my colleague to assist me. In terms of the SIU investigation, that's the presentation outline. Then this slide, Chair, just outline the legislative mandate that we look into when we do an investigation, and I'm not going to go through it. And also this one mentioned the function and the powers of the SIU and the mandate. And we've presented this before. I'm not going to go through it. And this one also outlined the outcome of SIU investigation, which is very important, which is the first one with civil litigation. We investigate so that we can institute civil proceeding and in order to recover assets for the state. And also the second one, we investigate so that we can refer disciplinary action to the state institution. And also if we come across any criminality, we refer to NPA. And also we make sure that we refer to regulatory authority so that action can be taken against some of those of the members that belongs to any regulatory authority. And lastly, we investigate, and once we come across any irregularity from any company or individual, we recommend blacklisting against them. And at the bottom, you can see we make a systemic recommendation. The whole notion is to make sure that whatever happened does not happen. So we identify the risk and make a recommendation to the department so that they can update their policies or whatever that led to whatever happened so that it doesn't happen. And this slide, Chair, outlines the fight against corruption ecosystem, which shows exactly what's happening in the country. I think what is important for us here is the issue of prevention, the one at the bottom, where currently SIU, we have developed a national corruption risk and prevention framework, whereby the framework is currently undergoing approval in government. Most importantly, we are trying to emphasize the issue of prevention because we saw that investigating takes so much time and money, but importantly, we just need to focus on the prevention. And some of the things that we recommended in the framework is the data analytics, performing data analytics so that we can do predictive model, and also doing some lifestyle audit and awareness so as that we can able to make sure that we prevent corruption from happening. And also what is important is the whole societal approach in terms of fighting corruption, whereby we believe that the community are very important in the fight against corruption. So that's in a nutshell about this slide. But what is important is this slide, Chair, in terms of how do we deal with matters that are referred to the SIU. Firstly, at the first line, the yellow one, you can see we receive allegation. An allegation can be received from a whistleblower, from anybody else, from the department, from the ministers, from AGSA, from anybody. And after receiving the matters, we register the case in our case system. And after that, we prepare for assessment internally, whereby in the assessment, we assess so that we can able to assess whether to see whether the matter fall within section 2, subsection 2 of the SIU Act, whereby it falls within the mandate of SIU. And once we have done that, there are two outcomes where it's going to be whether it fall within the mandate or it does not. And if it does not, we refer the matter to a relevant authority that can deal with the matter. And if it fall within the mandate, then we proceed to the motivate for a proclamation. Then we prepare a proclamation where now we are in a black row. Prepare a proclamation. The motivation is when it's approved, after the members have prepared it, it's approved by the head of the unit, then it's transferred to the Department of Justice. And once the motivation is submitted to the Department of Justice, that's when now we wait for the proclamation. And that's where now the DG has explained the process going forward, whereby they assess, and after assessing, the minister sign, and after the minister sign, then it's go to the presidency. And once it's gone to the presidency, they've signed it, then it's gazetted. And after it's gazetted, that's when the proclamation is issued. That's when the SIU now have the power to start with the investigation. All along, we don't have any power for us to receive documents or any other clarity that is required pertaining to the allegation. We depend on the department giving us documents. And in some instances, it's quite difficult because when you request documents, we have been told that you don't have power to request this document. And therefore, it becomes difficult for us to process the matter forward because the either justice will be saying, is there a contract? Where's the contract? And therefore, we can't even request the contract. because the department says we can't give it to you. Show us the proclamation so that we can give it to you. So that's the whole process in terms of motivation for a proclamation. Then in terms of the AGSA material irregularities, just to indicate that we have signed a MOU with the AGSA in 2022, then it was reviewed in 2025, whereby in terms of the MOU, the AGSA may refer material irregularity to the SIU for assessment with a view of the SIU to applying for the proclamation. Then in terms of the current or to date, what we have received in terms of the material irregularities is 32, and of which the number of MIs investigated under existing proclamation. This is instances whereby we received the material irregularities and it found that we already have a proclamation. So those are the ones that we are able to investigate them under the existing proclamation. That is 4. So the one that resulted in us getting a proclamation is 13, and the one where they resulted in us drafting a motivation for a proclamation that went to the Department of Justice. Those are the ones that the Acting General was talking about. They are 9, and the ones that are currently being assessed in terms of our legislation, whereby once we're done, we'll be referring them to the Department of Justice. They are 6. Then in terms of the details of those matters are outlined here. The first one being National Treasury, the IFMS matter, whereby when we received the material irregularity, we found that there's a currently existing proclamation. So we managed to investigate that under the existing proclamation. And that matter is currently finalized and is currently in a support phase where we have referred a matter for civil litigation. The second one is Ngakamudiri Mulema District Municipality, where also we were busy with the investigation in another proclamation, and we managed to investigate that MIs in the same proclamation, and this one is also finalized. That's 2 for Ngakamudiri Mulema, the one for generators, and the other one is for water. The 4th one was National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, whereby also that matter is finalized. Then the other one whereby we managed to apply for a new proclamation based on the material irregularity we received from the AGSA, from number 5, which is JB Marks local municipality, and the investigation is finalized. Amajuba District Municipality, investigation is finalized. Umgeni Utukela Water, and this one also, the investigation is finalized. There's 2 Umgeni Utukela Water. The first one was consultancy services, and the other one was security services. And the Department of Defense and Military Veteran, also this one, we managed to get a new proclamation, and the matter is ongoing. State Information Technology Agency, the investigation is ongoing. Krisani District Municipality, that is relating to goods and services. This matter is currently on hold, whereby we have applied for the extension of the mandate, because we recovered when we were investigating that in terms of the information that we have received, the matter is not covered by the proclamation that is currently being issued. Therefore, meaning that we don't have the power to investigate what is being alleged in terms of that. Therefore, we have applied for an extension of the mandate. Therefore, this proclamation is currently on hold. Krisahani District Municipality, which is another matter where we're looking at VAT payment, it's ongoing. Bushbuck Ridge Local Municipality, it's ongoing. Office of the Premier Free State, it's ongoing. Umzinyati District Municipality, there's 2 of them. The first one was fuel and the other one was generator, and both matters are ongoing. The number 17, Siatemba Local Municipality, is also going. So those are the matters where we managed to obtain proclamation after we received the referrals from AGSA. Now from number 18 until number 26, those are the matters that we have where we are motivating for a proclamation, whereby we have referred the matter to the Department of Justice. Those are the Department of Military Veteran, Emergency Housing, Department of Road and Public Works, and Department of Road and Public Works. Those are two. And Department of Education, construction of Tlolo Primary School, and also Department of Education, construction of Malebogo Primary School. So we have outlined them one by one because they were referred differently, but in terms of the way justice have done it, they've combined them into one. And also there's a 25 Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality where we're looking at overpayments. And there's also public security industry, the PCRA one, where the acting DG has indicated that the matter is currently with the presidency and the proclamation will be issued quite soon. Then this one are the proclamation, there are the referrals where we are currently assessing internally to see whether the matters fall within the jurisdiction of the SIU Act. The first one is the one where we have currently seconded member in order for them to be able to obtain documents so that they can able to assist us to assess whether the matter fall within the proclamation. And the second one, 28, which is the Department of Defense, where we're looking at St. George Hotel and Road Accident Fund. There's two matters there, and the Mangaung Municipality and the Mangaung Municipality debt collection. So those are the matters that we are currently internally looking into them to see whether do they fall within the mandate of the SIU. And once we're done with the process, we'll be referring them to the Department of Justice so that proclamation can be issued. Then update on matters referred by AGSA. Those are the matters there by investigation is finalized and it's in a support phase. The first one is the IFMS. Those the matters where we received the referral from AGSA and we found that there's currently proclamation ongoing, and we investigated matter under that same proclamation. And on this one, Chair, we can indicate that the investigation is finalized, whereby we have referred, the SIU concluded that the tender was awarded irregularly to the contractors to the value of 822 million, and whereby currently we have briefed counsel so that he can bring a review application to set aside the IFMS contract. And in terms of the outcome, we have referred 2 disciplinary referrals and 5 criminal referrals, and administrative referrals for blacklisting is 1 that we have done, and we have done 21 systemic recommendations in terms of this matter. The second one is the Ditsobotla local municipality, which is in Nakamodiri Mulema district municipality, whereby this one we're looking at the procurement of generators for Bikotsong pump station in Ditsobotla, where there was excessive price for the purchase of the generators. And in terms of this one, the matter is finalized and currently is under civil litigation, where we have referred that matters for civil litigation to be conducted. And the value of the matter is 25 million. And we have also referred 3 disciplinary referrals to the municipality so that they can take action against the official that were involved. The third one is the Umgeni Utukela water, whereby it's also finalized. There we are also looking at the tender for social facilitation and community engagement in the Umgeni water infrastructure project, and also looking at the contract for security and guarding services. And on this one, the investigation is finalized, and the outcome is that we have referred 2 disciplinary referrals and 15 criminal referrals to the NPA so that they can take action against those people that are involved. And we have also referred blacklisting letter for 15 companies and individuals. And also the systemic recommendation we have done is 1. And the fourth one is the JB Max local municipality in Northwest, where also we're looking at the procurement of goods and services on behalf of the municipality, whereby the matter is finalized. And in terms of the outcome, we have referred 8 criminal referrals and 1 disciplinary referrals. And we have also done the systemic recommendation based on the investigation, the exposures that we have found for the municipality to be able to correct their processes. The fourth one is Amajuba District Municipality in KZN, where we are looking at the procurement and for the construction of reinforced concrete reservoir. And in terms of this investigation, also it's finalized. We have referred 3 disciplinary referrals and 1 systemic recommendation. In terms of National Department of Public Works, where we also finalized the investigation, and there we look at the service providers overpriced the departments on the state funerals for Billy Modise and Winnie Mandela and Zola Square. And this one, we are done with the investigation, whereby the outcome is that on the 18th of April 2023, the service provider was ordered to pay back 10.7 million to the department. In terms of the matters that are ongoing, the first one is the Department of Defense and Military Veteran, where we are looking at the procurement irregularity in the inventory verification and continuous asset verification, and also the supply and delivery and installation and commissioning of an asset management system. And in terms of this matter, is still ongoing, whereby we are to make a systemic recommendation to the department. And currently what is pending, what we are looking at is to make a disciplinary referral against the identified official in the process. And currently what we are doing, before we do any disciplinary referrals, we do the right of reply so that we can give the official an opportunity for them to reply on that. And also currently pending is the civil litigation, where we intend to institute the civil litigation in order to set aside the contract and to recover the overpayments that we have identified. The other one is the State Information Technology Agency, where we look at the procurement of contracting for the establishment of turnkey software asset management solution to the agency for the period of 36 months. And in terms of this one, the investigation is still ongoing, where currently the preliminary finding, we found possible conflict of interest, and we found that the procurement process was irregular and was in contravention of CETA supply chain management, and payments was made for services that was not rendered. And currently we are assessing the finding so that we can determine the outcome that we should make, that is the disciplinary criminal referrals and also the recovery that needs to happen. The Chris Hani District Municipality, whereby here we were mandated to investigate serious maladministration and unfair of the municipality in relation to the procurement of goods, work or services in terms of the tender relating to the backlog eradication. And on this one, the investigation is ongoing, whereby, that's the investigation that is currently on hold, whereby we are waiting for the amendment of the proclamation so that we can able to focus on this specific matter that are mentioned in the proclamation. So we are still waiting for the amendment from the Department of Justice. The other one is the other one relating to Chris Hani, where we're also looking at the procurement of different services, whereby the investigation currently is still ongoing, and currently there isn't any outcome that we have identified. The Bushbuck Ridge local municipality, where we obtained the proclamation, and there we are looking at the procurement of good work or services in relation to Lilydale Phase 1 project. That is the paving of internal street within the municipal area. And here on the completed focus area, criminal referrals was made to NPA. That is one criminal referral pertaining to the service provider. And currently what we are looking at to refer is 4 disciplinary referrals against the BAC committee members, and a blacklisting to CIPC, and also civil litigation referral to set aside the contract in order to recover the overpayments that has been made. And this is based on the quantification that we have done based on the QS report. And also we'll be making administrative referrals to SANAS. In terms of the Free State Office of the Premier, this investigation also is ongoing, where we are looking at several matters, and based on the current outcome is that we have signed a memorandum of agreement with to the value of 6.3 million with 7 higher education institutions to pay back money in their suspense account. And also we have recovered 6.3 million in actual cash from the student that received bursary that were not qualified for. And we have also signed 17 AOD, which is admission of debt, to the value of 1.8 million. And we have referred 7 criminal referrals and 38 disciplinary referrals, and 138 matters has been finalized. And we have submitted 2 progress reports on this matter. And Umzinyathi District Municipality in KZN also is still ongoing, whereby we are looking at the supply and installation, maintenance of ground dual static tank, and whereby currently there isn't any outcome, whereby the investigation is still ongoing. And the Proclamation 295 Siatemba Local Municipality, this investigation also is still ongoing, where currently there isn't any outcome. The other one is the secondment that we have made to the Department of Military Veteran, where we are looking at quite different matters, a whole lot of matters pertaining to tablets, pertaining to procurement of certain, the ICT training, and also the host of certain conference, and a whole lot of other matters. So currently the team is assessing this matter. They are getting all the documents, and once we get all the documents, we will be applying for a motivation for a proclamation, which is going to be sent to the Department of Justice. So based on the summary of the outcome of all these matters that we are currently investigating, when we put all of them together, when we look at the potential of cash and asset to be recovered, whereby these are the matters that we have sent to the special tribunal, it's 26.5 million. And the actual cash where we managed to recover money is 6.3 million. And the rent value of matters referred for the institution of the civil proceeding is 25 million. And referrals that we have referred to National Prosecuting Authority is 43. And referrals for disciplinary action against official is 58. And referrals for administrative action is 16. Then out of this, what we have done, we have analyzed so that we can see what are the common trends and patterns out of these matters that were referred from the AGSA. In all these matters that we investigated, the first one we have seen that there's a non-compliance with the procedures. There's also elements of contravention of the MFMA and regulation. And there's also issue of irregular contracts being issued, and there's elements of corruption and the irregularity in the supply chain management process, and there's fraud, there's procurement irregularities, then there's an irregular appointment of service provider, and there's also, we found the overpricing, there's conflict of interest, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and whereby service provider failed to fulfill the contractual obligation. Those are the common trends that we have identified out of all these 32 matters that we have looked into. Then in conclusion, in summary, 32 matters of material irregularities refer by AGSA to SIU. Out of them, 8 proclamation investigation have since been finalized, and 9 proclamation investigation is still ongoing, and there's 1 secondment that is currently in progress, and there's 9 motivation for proclamation under consideration by the Department of Justice, and there are 5 being prepared for assessment against the jurisdictional requirements of the SIU Act, whereby once we're done, we'll be referring that to the Department of Justice if they fall within the mandate of the SIU. That's it from us, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lekgetu, for the presentation, and let's also appreciate the progress that has been made on a lot of these matters, and we are appreciative of that. Also, let me thank the acting DG for the presentation and for making us aware of a lot of those issues, and I think it does assist the committee. Honourable Minister, I am aware of your obligations and that you requested to be released at 20 to 10. I am going to allow members to engage, but if I see that we are nearing that time, I will just give you an opportunity for closing remarks just before you leave. But let me, honourable members, give you an opportunity to engage the presentations. With a show of hands, please. Honourable Vilakazi is the first taker. Honourable Vilakazi, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to the Minister and her team. Thank you for the presentations. Just have a few questions. Firstly, I would just direct this one to the AGSA, actually, that we see many instances where accounting officers in municipalities or departments pass the buck for responsibility to act or plead helplessness, or as we saw in one portfolio committee meeting this week, they will simply say they're not even aware of the AG or SIU directive or report. Now, bearing in mind the accountability ecosystem of the AGSA, the question that I have then is, who carries the responsibility to act on material irregularities raised? And who carries the responsibility to act on the results of investigations? And also on that note, what mechanisms are in place or are there to facilitate and monitor the workings and effectiveness of the accountability ecosystem? And how does the HSA ensure that the other role players in the ecosystem play their part appropriately? And then to the department itself, the department mentions that there's a 2.5 million threshold for financial viability for investigation. Now, this, of course, raises the an obvious tension between financial value on the one hand and the constitutional principle of accountability and even deterrence on the other. So how does the department balance this tension? The department also says that because some matters have been consolidated, there will only be 6 proclamations rather than 9 rather than the 9 that are reflected in the SIU presentation. So in fact, this is more for the SIU, but perhaps the department as well can comment on this. Are the 2 organizations aligned in regards to this consolidation? And from the SIU perspective, does this not jeopardize some of your matters or have a negative impact if the department consolidates when you do not present it to us as consolidated? And in regard to the capacity constraints and vacancies, these are raised as reasons for delays in processing proclamations. So what's the target turnaround time, the desired turnaround time for the department for proclamations, and how does that compare with what is currently happening? So what's the current average? Another important concern raised by the department is multiple investigations into the same matter, which can result in wastage of scarce resources and even jeopardize the cases themselves. How does the department deal with such instances of multiple investigations into the same thing? And what mechanism has the department put in place to address this? And then I just thought, as a catch-all question for the department, the material irregularity process was introduced to accelerate accountability. Yet we see matters being referred, then waiting for assessment, then waiting for proclamation, then waiting for investigations, and then waiting for disciplinary action, prosecution, or recovery. Looking across the entire accountability chain, what is the single biggest reform that the department would prioritize or would seek for Parliament to prioritize if we want to move from findings to consequences more quickly? I ask this question in particular because there tends to be a loss of confidence in the public if matters take ages to finalize, and in some instances the results are never seen, and it appears that there are no consequences for malfeasance or criminal activity. And then, Chair, maybe let me stop there. I'll ask others of the SIU specifically if there's an opportunity later on.
Thank you very much, Honourable Vilakazi, much appreciated. And I am going to give the AG an opportunity before I give the department and the SIU an opportunity to respond. I'll give the AG an opportunity to also respond to questions and for comments and remarks in general as well. Let me recognize Honourable Mofokeng and then Honourable Muwali. Honourable Mofokeng, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the presentation. Greetings to the Honourable Minister, Honourable Members, AG's team, representatives from SIU, and everyone on the platform. Chairperson, I had two questions on the presentation, but Honourable Vilakazi has asked the first one. Then I'll go to my second one, which is given the repeated concerns about slow progress and unresolved cases, what is the average turnaround from AGSA referral to SIU action, and what steps are you taking to reduce it? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you for that, Honourable Mofokeng. Honourable Muwali, followed by Honourable Lekagaba.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. Just to avoid the repetition, because some of the questions have been asked by our colleague, Honourable Vilakazi. I want to check, Chair, considering that, delays in this nature really can lead to people evading accountability. So I want to check from the department, what are the normal causes of the delays on the processing of proclamations? I ask this, Chair, because immediately this process starts unfolding, we end up with situations where departments now, or the culprits now, finding ways to evade these processes. You would see buildings being banned, you'd see offices, you'd see missing information and all of that. So what are the normal causes of the delays from the part of the department on processing these proclamations? Because these are referrals from AG, and then they move from AG to SIU, and then SIU determines that, okay, there's a case here, and they fall within their mandate. And then they request from the department to have a proclamation, and then the department needs to process this proclamation and then send it to President. So this delay, Chairperson, and this processes that needs to go on before SIU can start doing work can lead to a lot of people evading accountability. So what are the normal causes of these delays, and what is it that the department is planning to do to address these delays, because if they can cut these delays, these processes, these nitty-gritties that needs to be done on these processes, then you can see a speedily, we can see speed in the investigations, and also people can get to be to account
Soma.
as possible. Thank you so much.
Ngiyaphila wena.
Just to ask that Honorable Velakazi, you're unmuted. Thank you. Honorable Ligagaba.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you, honorable members, the Minister, the SIU, the AG and the DHG. Good morning. I have 3 questions, Chair. The first question is, as the committee chair, including the SCOPA, has constantly flagged recurring irregularities in municipalities such as Mangaung, as well as persistent corruption risk in areas such as water tankering and fraud involving South African Social Security Agency, SASSA. What systematic interventions has the SIU implemented to address these recurring hotspots of corruption, and what measurable evidence can be provided to demonstrate that these interventions are effectively reduce repeat offenses and strengthening accountability? My second question, Chair, you have highlighted collaboration with the Auditor-General of South Africa and the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, which the committee welcomes and commends. Can you provide specific example where this partnership have resulted in quicker investigation, improved prosecutions, or more effective resolution of corruption cases? Furthermore, what key questions or institutional obstacles still hinder the full effectiveness of this collaborative efforts? My last question, Chair, given the growing public frustration over recurring irregularity contracts and the perception that lengthy investigations often allow corruption and financial losses to continue unchecked, what policy positions does the SIU adopt regarding advising municipalities to suspend, review or terminate contracts that are suspected to be irregular or unlawful while investigations are still underway? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Appreciate Honourable Subrati.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, let me welcome the presentations by the SIU. I don't want to repeat my colleagues would have asked. I just have 2 questions here. Chairperson, the first question is what mechanisms does the SIU have in place to ensure that the lessons from the completed investigations are translated into preventative reforms across government departments and across municipalities? And maybe can they cite a few examples to enrich and enlighten this committee? And maybe the second question related to that would be, how does the SIU track and report the implementation of its systemic recommendations? And maybe what is the rate of compliance of their recommendations by departments and various municipalities? Those will be the 2 questions from my side. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Subrati. Appreciate. Honourable Minister, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Your time is running out, and I am aware of the fact that you have to leave. So I'm going to give you an opportunity just to for any closing remarks that you might have, and then I'm going to give the AG an opportunity, and then the acting DG, and then the SIU. Honourable Minister.
Hi, Chairperson, thank you very much. I think let me just say a few things before I leave. One, acknowledgement that there is a need for government to synchronize work in terms of fighting corruption in the country. That's why you'd see the SCoAG report, the pronouncement by the president that we must consolidate. So Department of Justice is working on that. So we acknowledge the processes that we need to deal with. I'm hearing members are raising concern that sometimes people tend to evade because investigations are taking long. SIU referrals, not only the ones in terms of whistleblowers, and the time the proclamation is done, you find that people have already evaded. That we're taking that into cognizance. Hence, when I started, I raised the issue that that's why we were even amending how the proclamations are done so that we can be able to deal with the issues that. But again, one of the things that we are picking up and we're trying to sort that out as JCPS is duplication of responsibilities. So there are things that needs DPCI directly. It's a clear case of a criminal activity, does not even need SIU to go and investigate, but DPCI must take it over immediately and get people arrested. And therefore that, but more so going forward, honorable members and colleagues, is for us to be preventative measure. You'll see part of the emphasis on SIU now will move into protecting the losses. So stopping contracts upfront before money is lost by the state. I think that's the most important one, because to recover, for example, most of the people who do these things, they buy cars, you know, they lose value. They do parties, you will not be able to recover. By the time you go to them, you are not able to recover the money. So prevention in terms of where validity of contracts are evaluated upfront so that before the matter can be taken. And one of the lessons now, this week, Concord issued a judgment that says that a company cannot want to be paid value of the contract if a contract has been determined to be invalid. And that's important. It helps us. Only the portion of the work that they've done at the time before the contract is determined to be invalid can be paid when the person is deemed not to have been involved as a contractor. That's what they're saying. But overall, if the contract is deemed invalid, because part of the problem was that we were litigated as government, because the contractor will say, no, I want the whole value of the contract because I'm litigated, I was not responsible, it's the officials. Now the Concord has said, no, you don't have to pay as a state value of the contract, you only pay the portion of what work has been done. So it will help in prevention. So we do take that, colleagues, in terms of issues from our side as well. I mean, as the minister can tell you, my turnaround time is 48 hours on signing. So when I get it, I sign. So I've been encouraging even the department to make sure that the issues are cleared. But again, honorable members, we don't want to rush things and then you compromise the value of work. You miss the issues because later, as we know, our environment is very litigious. I always encourage SIU to be thorough in doing their work, the department to be thorough, so that when we say we are doing this, there is no comebacks, you don't lose it at court, because that will kill the credibility of SIU and the good work that they've been doing. So we always make sure that that is the process. Two, I've encouraged both the teams and will continue to do that to ensure that they meet, they talk, they clear issues out so that there is no ambiguity in what needs to be done. But more importantly, going forward, honorable members, that I would need all party support is when we bring legislation to change the financial situation of SIU. Currently, the model is not sustainable and would want to have a better model that actually ensures that they are funded properly. For example, currently they do investigation and then they have to recover from the same department. And you find that they've been investigating this official that must sign off their payments and they don't sign off. So that's one of the weaknesses that we are doing. So we would want to change that, and we hope you will support us together with the AG, so that the money, if they are contracted, we say this is a proclamation, the money is delegated from National Treasury directly to SIU from that department, so that we can be able to have this investigation done properly, in time, and with value the way we want it. So with that, Chair, the team will answer some of the issues that I had left. Thank you very much, and I have to run now for the Concord sitting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, and once again, thank you for your presence. And yes, we do release you, but thank you for your presence and your time and your availability today and your engagement. And I'm sure that we will engage in future as well in terms of the progress and any progress that's made or any other issues. But thank you very much, and you are released, Minister. Thank you. AG, I'm going to give you an opportunity for any comments and also to respond, especially to, I think there were a few questions that was related to you, especially Honourable Vilakazi's questions. But let me give you an opportunity. Thank you, AG.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Minister as well as the head of the SIU for their input and comments on the work that we've been doing together. Maybe let me start by acknowledging that over the past while, we have indeed seen a revival in terms of the pace and effectiveness of the collaboration between ourselves and SIU. And I do want to commend the work of the SIU themselves, but also the work of the Minister and the Department of Justice and the officials there, but also that of the Presidency in ensuring that there is due attention to the matters we're raising and to issuing the proclamations. As it would be, when the pace of work starts to improve, so we learn. I've taken to heart the observations from the Department of Justice about the size of the transactions that we are referring. And if I may remind the honourable members of SCoAG that the regulations that we have gazetted in support of implementing the new powers of MIs and referrals. Those regulations stipulate that a transaction meets the criteria for material irregularity if the financial loss that we can assess hits the number of 1 million rand. And the SIU is looking to rather consider matters from 2.5 million rand and above. And so there is some complexity around how we're going to have to look at what we do with matters that are under 2.5 million rand or even under 10 million, but then still meet the 1 million. And maybe it is time to relook at the 1 million. But that's a debate, Honourable Chair, that I think we need to have between ourselves as AGSA and with SCoAG as well. I'm also taking to heart much of the input about avoiding too far a delay in the referral. And maybe this is where I would want to answer Honourable Vilakazi's question. The primary responsibility for avoiding loss, for referring matters for investigation quickly, for recovering losses, that responsibility still sits with the accounting officer. So when they have referred a matter for investigation, it's their responsibility to track that there is proper action on it. When they've referred matters for loss recovery, it is still their responsibility to track that is being attended to. The work of the AGSA is never to replace that of the accounting officers. Our work remains that of being complementary. And so when you observe that accounting officers are not acting on matters quickly enough, that's when they're not playing their role in accordance with their given mandate in the accountability ecosystem. In terms of the accountability ecosystem itself, we are and continue to work very hard to give the right sort of information to all players in the accountability ecosystem so that they can play their role more effectively. The recommendations and insights we're offering to accounting officers, to internal audit committees, to parliament, to councils, etc. All of those are about trying to enable every single part of that ecosystem to do its work more effectively. Our assessment is that all of us could do better. We are working at the moment on an effectiveness assessment of all the role players, and we'll share that with the honourable members of SCoAG as we go. But we could all do better. In terms of the matters around the synchronization of the work of all the anti-corruption agencies, as the Minister was mentioning, I do believe that we can all get better in collaborating more effectively. As I say, the work we've been doing with the SIU is instructive because it demonstrates that there is benefit in collaborating, and one's got to keep trying to get better at it. We're also noticing that the conversation we had with the DPCI recently is also inviting both AGSA and DPCI to figure out how we collaborate more effectively so that the work we do together is more impactful and is cost effective as well. So I'm going to end my remarks there, Chair, in thanking the honourable members of SCoAG and yourself, Chair, for continuing to prioritise these conversations between AGSA and the parties to whom we refer matters, specifically the SIU and the DPCI. It is going to mean that all of us must keep getting better at collaborating and being effective in our roles so that we build the preventative controls that will avoid losses, but also we are swift and effective in chasing after money that might be lost and strengthening controls on a regular basis. But thank you once again, Chair, for this opportunity to respond to the specific questions, but also to respond to the conversation thus far. I'll hand back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, AG, for your response. Much appreciated. Then let me give the acting DG an opportunity. Ms. Pillay.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I thank the AGSA and also the Minister. She has dealt with some of the issues, and the AGSA as well on the matter of the 2.5 million and arbiter rises. But I think I must say, if sometimes you would find to deal with the question of the 2.5 million, I believe that we must have some kind of a threshold in terms of of investigations. The 2.5 million is but one. For instance, if there are other factors which point to systemic issues around corruption and failing procurement processes, or just actions of individuals within a particular entity, then it doesn't mean that the 2.5 million in our work would be a bar to an investigation. So I think we must just make that clear. But at the same time, I think when we look at these proclamations, we must always bear in mind at the end of the day the cost of those proclamations and what it would mean for that entity, because the cost then gets attached to those entities. And in particular, again, Chair, I would like to reiterate municipalities who are often cash-strapped, and then an investigation happens, and then and I think you've got to weigh all the issues around it. And then also bear in mind, as I said earlier, is the mandate of the SIU and whether investigating systemic corruption requires each and every investigation that is brought to the attention, whether by whistleblowers, etc., should be taken as an investigation. And I also want to reiterate what the Minister said, that sometimes when matters need to be referred to the police for an investigation, then that's what happens. Then, Chair, I want to raise the issue of the turnaround times and delays. I think in these matters, we don't want to say that I don't think we must point to the delays solely on the basis of capacity. The delays are much more, and they are not necessarily delays, but it's the officials conducting the work, for instance, and the work of scrutinizing matters. So if there's going to be engagement between us and the SIU, that takes time. If there's a requirement for further legal opinion, if we cannot agree on a particular matter, we would require a legal opinion that would give finality to the matter, and that takes time. So all of it cannot be put down to delays, but it's a normal matter of processing. But where matters are straightforward, Chair, we've developed a system in the department that within 10 to 20 days, as soon as a proclamation is received, it must be processed to the relevant role players for approval, and that is barring all other queries or issues that may arise on the investigation. There are some investigations that are so clear-cut that no questions need to be raised. You don't even have to go back to the SIU to say, please explain this or advise on this. We can just proceed with the matter because it meets all the criteria that we have done insofar as processing a proclamation. Then on the matter of the consolidation, I believe there was a question on consolidation. I don't believe it would compromise any investigation because it's we consolidate in a particular province, and as you will see, it relates to one department, and there's really no need to have so many proclamations for the same department, for instance, the Department of Housing, and in a single province, so it doesn't compromise any challenge, and it may also assist in cost effectiveness possibly, but I don't believe the consolidation is problematic. Then, Chair, the last point I want to raise is I think a question was raised. What would be the biggest reform we think could happen to increase accountability? And I believe the AGSA spoke very eloquently about the question of accountability. But I think I just want to add that if we were to talk about accountability, there's one question, and that is internal disciplinary processes that must be followed, that must be tweaked so that it becomes more effective and efficient and quicker, and also that all accounting officers ensure that those processes are followed. So whether it be in state entities through DPSA disciplinary process, or whether it's through the entities. Thank you, Chair. I think I will just leave it at that point. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if there's any other issue I've left out. If there are, I'll come back to. I think anyone can raise it and I'll revert. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pillay. Very much appreciated. Mr. Lekhetu.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. And I think let me also acknowledge the AGSA. I wasn't aware that she's in the meeting. But with regard to the question that were asked, the first one relating to the consolidation, I agree with the DG that it will not compromise the matter. It's one department, so proclamation can have many allegations. So I think it will not. And also on the issue of the collaboration, I can indicate that our collaboration with the DPCI and MPA is improved quite significantly. So whereby we've got an MOU with both institutions, and I think also with the SAPS, whereby we regulate the referrals of our matters. So we're still working on it to make sure that the MOU is properly implemented, and I think that will enable us to see much more consequence being taken. And on the issue of the cancellation of irregular contract while investigation ongoing, this is something that we do, Chair. As we investigate and we already see that there's an irregularity, we don't wait for the investigation to be finalized. We write to the municipality to say the contract that is currently ongoing is irregular. Please stop the payment because we're still investigating, because we are mitigating the issue that the department does not spend or municipality spend money, and the next thing we struggle in order to recover. So we write to them, and in most instances they adhere to us and stop the payments. And once they stop the payments, we start our own process in order to make sure that we go to court. We make sure that the contract is set aside. So that's what we do, because we don't want to investigate and only to come back to find that there's no money to recover. So we do make sure that happens as soon as possible. And the other aspect I'll give to my colleagues to come on the issue of the systemic recommendation, but also on the issue of the referrals of the MI, the issue of 2.5 vis-a-vis the 1 million. What I can always indicate is that whenever we get the referrals, you find that there are already other referrals available. So it will not be just one matter being referred. We make sure that we consolidate with what is already available in terms of allegation pertaining to that department, so it can able to increase the figure in terms of the irregularity. So we take note of that requirement. And I think lastly, Chair, just to indicate that I think this call for us to have another engagement with the department so that we can able to map the way forward in terms of making sure that our matters are dealt with speedily, and also we address some of the challenges that they have pertaining to our matters. So it's something that will take up with the department. And also we need to acknowledge our relationship with the AGSA, that it's quite a good relationship, and the support that we are getting in terms of our matters and also other matters where they were not referred by them. I think they are playing a good, they're giving us a good value in terms of their cooperation in our matters. Otherwise, I'll hand over to my colleagues to deal with other questions that were asked. Mr. Pranesh Maharaj, you can take over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lekheto. Good morning to everyone on the platform. I'm going to deal with the question regarding how does the SIU deal with lessons learned from its investigations? How do those then translate into preventative measures? Chair, members of SCoAG, when the National Anti-Corruption Strategy was adopted, the SIU took a conscious decision at that point to inculcate in its value chain preventative measures post-investigations. What we then did was we established a dedicated prevention advisory and awareness capacity together with a data analytics capacity. And how we approach the preventative functions based on investigations that the SIU has conducted is that we take the SIU's systemic recommendations. We apply a risk-based approach to identifying where the gaps are in terms of systemic controls and weaknesses, and we then do a number of things. Firstly, we approach the relevant state institution that was investigated, and we then conduct what we call targeted awareness campaigns at these institutions, where we take them through the outcomes of our investigations as well as the recommendations that we've made. And we then, working in conjunction with the relevant state institution, develop what is called a systemic improvement plan. The SIU then assists the state institution to implement those systemic recommendations, and we then monitor the implementations of those systemic recommendations. We have also, through a combination of mining investigation data through a data analytics exercise, we've then generated what we've called trend analysis reports. We share those trend analysis reports with the affected state institutions, and we then provide those trend analysis reports with recommendations for prevention measures, as well as what we call a prevention advisory, which is issued to the accounting officer or the accounting authority of the department, where we make certain recommendations to improve controls. And then lastly, our systemic recommendations are also tracked and monitored via the presidency, where the presidency writes to the affected state institutions and requires feedback from the institutions on measures taken to implement those systemic recommendations as a form of prevention. These recommendations will soon find their way into a case monitoring mechanism that is currently being developed between the SIU, the presidency, and CETA. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lekheto.
Thank you, Pranesh. Chair, that's the response from the SIU.
Thank you very much for that. Colleagues, honourable members, any questions, follow-up questions for further clarity? I see Honourable Vilakazi and Honourable Muali. Let me give you an opportunity, Honourable Vilakazi.
Thank you, Chair. Just one thing for me on the SIU report. I would say that there is just one key piece of information that tends to be lacking from the presentations. Amongst the finalized cases, we are not told how many, how many of them have actually had the recommendations acted upon. I mean, what is the quantity of disciplinary cases conducted and concluded? What criminal and civil cases have been enrolled in the courts? Have there been any convictions? Oracle, for example, there's a point that it was recommended for blacklisting. Has it been blacklisted? And there are other organizations as well like that. That there are other instances where blacklisting is recommended. Systemic recommendations that the presentation referred to. What I think would be of help to us, then perhaps a comment now from the SIU would be, to what extent have these been implemented? And could in future presentations, could we have an extra column then, or an extra column in the presentation that then states the extent to which those have been implemented or not? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vilakazi. Honorable Muwali.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll ask just a few questions from the SIU. I want to know what would be an ideal turnaround time for the SIU to obtain a proclamation, particularly from the department. And two, whilst the SIU is waiting for the proclamation and the powers to start investigating, in the event that they've actually made themselves, they've determined that that complaint falls within their mandate, then what do they do whilst waiting for the proclamation on the other end from when they've actually requested a proclamation from the department and from the president? And then in the event that officials are no longer with the institutions by which the fine or the whatsoever that has been reported to the SIU they have conducted, how do they deal with such? Because I know that in many cases, that's one of the things that affects the investigations, particularly the delays in the investigations, the ongoing investigations, are as a result of people trying to evade now this accountability process. So how do you then deal with in the officials or culprits that are trying to now move around or resign or do whatsoever in their powers to try and evade accountability whilst you're still waiting for the proclamations and all of that? And also, is there any instance, I want to check, is there any instance where SIU did the investigations and then refer the matter to the NPA and then the NPA decide not to prosecute the matter? Do you have such cases? And in the event that there's such, then how do you deal with that? Whereby now you have done all the investigations and referred the matter to the NPA for prosecutions, and then the NPA decides not to prosecute. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Muwali, for that. Those questions are directed to the SIU, both sets of questions. Let me give you an opportunity to respond, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Member, for the question. On the current update of some of these matters as to what consequence or what is the outcome of the recommendation, I'll give it to the acting COO to come on it. But perhaps we have also taken note that as we do the presentation in future, we'll make sure that we get response from the departments and from also NPA, so that we can able to know what happened to those matters. So we'll put it in our response as we'll be doing the presentation in future. What is an ideal time for obtaining a proclamation? This one, Chair, we do have an MOU with the Department of Justice and the Presidency. And I think in terms of the MOU, what we did, we have gone through the process to outline what is the function of SIU, what is the function of the Department of Justice, and what is the function of the Presidency. And out of that process, we were able to identify to say this function can be done within certain period of time, and this one and that one. And if I remember well, based on the whole notion, it came to 30 days, in terms of analysis. But of course, we were not, we were cognizant of the fact that some other information might not be available, and also that the signature might not be easily available. But ideally, when everything is there, we are looking at more less than 30 days. So that's what we think. But currently, we are engaging the Department of Justice so that we can able to review the MOU, because things are changing, and so that we can able to align it with the changes currently. What we do while we're waiting for a proclamation, there isn't anything that we are able to do, Chair, while we're waiting for a proclamation, because at that particular time, we don't have the power, so there's nothing that we can do, because once we do the investigation, it's really, we will not be able to enforce anything. In some instances where it's a willing department, we are able to negotiate with them, where we are able to sign a secondment agreement. We second our members to the department so that they can conduct investigation as member of the department while we are waiting for a proclamation. But in some instances where the department is not a willing department, we wait for the proclamation, and we just hope that the matters the asset does not dissipate. And if there's already element of criminality, we also inform the Hawks and the police so that they can also do their part in terms of those matters, because for us we'll be aiming for the recovery. But generally our hands are really tied up while we don't have a proclamation, so there isn't much that we can do. And in terms of the official that left the department, that is before the proclamation is issued or after the proclamation is issued, there are several things that we do. Those that are leaving immediately, because you find that once we get a proclamation, some officials decide to resign immediately. And once we become aware, we inform the department, and what we do, we go to court so that we can freeze their pension, particularly when we know that they were involved and they have caused the irregularity, their main culprit in terms of the irregularity that has been caused. So we freeze their pension. And what we also do, once we go and deal with the contracts that were involved on, we cite them in the paper so that they can also be held liable in terms of repaying back the money that the state has lost. So that's what we do. And also those that have left before we come in and we found that they were involved in the irregularities, we normally search around the government to see whether are they still anywhere in state institution. And if they are in any state institution, we refer this matter to that particular state institution to say, this is what the member has done, and we request them that they must take action because the member will be working with them. And if they are not anywhere in the department, in government, we still refer to that particular department because we have found that in most instances, member will leave and wait for the dust to settle and then they come back. So what we do, we make sure that even if they've left, we refer the disciplinary referral to the department so that in case he come back, they must able to implement that disciplinary referrals. But in all, whether they've left or they're still there, they are not able to run away from criminal liability. We were able to refer for criminal referrals, whether they are still there or they've left. That one, we make sure that it does happen. And what do we have a case where NPA declined to prosecute? There are cases where we have referred to NPA and they come back and they say they decline to prosecute the issue and not prosecute. But in most instances, Honorable Chair, we engage NPA because you find that they will decline the matter based on just information that we have given them. They have not really made some strides to able to understand the matter properly. So what we normally do, we engage them because we ask them that they must tell us what is it that they don't agree with in terms of our finding. And if they require more information, we are able to provide information. But if they don't agree with us, then I think that's the issue we have, because we only have one national prosecuting authority. We are not able to refer to another prosecuting authority. But in most instances, we encourage communication because it helps us to learn going forward so that we don't repeat whatever mistake that we have given to them. But we appreciate that currently there's constant communication between our investigators and the NPA so that we can able to avoid the issue of nolle prosecuting in certain matters. And so I think those are the responses. I'm not sure whether the acting COO has an update in terms of the matters, the outcomes. COO, are you able to come in? Otherwise, we can able to indicate in our next presentation as to what happened to the criminal DC, whether was there any implementation, and what is the outcome of it. Thank you.
No, thank you, HOU. Good morning, Honorable Chair, honorable members, the Minister in absentia, AGSA, Acting DG, Acting HOU, the Deputy AG and colleagues. Yes, HOU, I think what we will do, we've taken note of the counsel given. We will provide in our next presentation, we will provide the details of every matter that we have referred. But just to give the committee some kind of comfort, when we refer matters to the departments, what we normally do, we give them 90 days to respond back to the SIU in terms of what they are going to be implementing. And we do track our matters. I do have an update, but what we can do, because I cannot now go back and give for each and every matter, but we can submit a supplementary letter to the committee just to update them on each and every matter that we have referred on, all the criminal referrals as well as the DCs. We will add the extra column in our next presentation just to update the committee on all of those. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much for the responses. On the updates and the last matter, I think the best way would be for us to request such in writing, and let us say that you please submit that before the 12th of June. I think that's about 2 weeks from now. And I think that gives you enough time to thoroughly provide those updates in writing on the recommendations, the implementation thereof, and the other updates as discussed. So if we can please get that in writing, and then going forth in the next presentations, you would do that. Thank you very much once again to the department and also the SIU for your presentations and your engagements, and for the undertakings as well that you have made today to improve certain matters, and we will hold you accountable with regards to that. But I do thank you for the undertakings, and I think that is the goal of these engagements, is that we speak about improving accountability and especially consequence management and the recovery. When we talk about the SIU, the recovery of lost funds, and that's the important role that this unit plays. And we do thank you for the good work that you do in that regard. And where there is room for improvement, I'm sure that working together we will improve, and we will fill the gaps, and we will ensure that less and less money is lost due to these irregularities, and that there's consequences for those that make themselves guilty thereof. And that is why we are here and what role we have to play. So thank you very much for that. Also, thank you to the AG for your responses and your engagements on these issues. I am then going to release the delegations from the SIU and the department, and also AGSA. AG, once again, thank you very much. And we'll then discuss our last item on the agenda, but let me release all the delegations. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Honorable
Chair.
Chair.
Thank you, honourable members. Our last item is then the recommendation on the remuneration of the AG. And I'm going to hand over to Mr. Mgachi to take us through that. And we then have to resolve, and we'll consider that report at the next meeting as soon as possible, so that such can serve in the National Assembly for consideration. Thank you, Mr. Mgachi. Mr. Mgachi, you're not audible. Zubeida, can we check if he can hear us?
We'll
Can you
check now,
just
Chair.
contact him, please? Just a second, honourable members.
Good afternoon, good morning, Chair.
Welcome. Thank you, sir. You can go ahead.
No, Chair, can I please that we defer that report to that in next meeting, because there are other information that I have to add in that one. That the one that I've been sending, that I just discovered yesterday.
Are we on the same page with regards to the remuneration of the AG?
Yes, yes.
My difficulty is that we have to get the presentation, deliberate on it, and then we have to consider a report and table it in the House. And the matter is becoming quite urgent because it was already referred to us quite a number of months ago, actually. So I'm uncomfortable with deferring the deliberation on the matter. Could you just explain what matter is outstanding? Because as I have it, it's quite a straightforward recommendation on the salary increase.
Okay, no, okay, good. So let's go, because I wanted to check. There's other information I wanted to do when I was looking at that report yesterday. Such as I didn't have a chance of adding it. But in the main, okay, no flat Zopedite.
The previous report, Mr. Mgachi?
Yeah, that's exactly the problem, because the salary for this current one has been changed. That's what I wanted to add, the information that I wanted to add. It's exactly that information. So if you flood to that one, that is a wrong one.
But where's the information that was referred to us? The recommendation from the independent panel.
Flood is obeyed so that we can see. Oh, a report, not this determination.
Chairperson, I'm just having some issues flighting it. Be done soon.
That's fine. Thank you, Zabeda.
There you go, Chair.
But
Mr. Mgachi. You are muted.
yes, Chair, please, man, let me beg you. Let me request in touches. Can we defer this to our next meeting? That will be soon, so that we can come with a proper report. I really.
It seems as though we don't have a choice, but I do want to express my the fact that I'm not comfortable with this. And this item was on the agenda. It actually was deferred from our last meeting 2 weeks ago. So it was already to be presented 2 weeks ago, and it was deferred. It was discussed in Manco, and it was on this agenda. And the agenda was circulated well in advance. We said that we can, if we have a next meeting in the course of the next 2 weeks, deal with the report then to consider what we deliberated today on this matter. To defer the matter further means that we can't consider a report on the matter. I don't know why we're complicating something that's actually not very complicated. There's a recommendation from the independent panel to the president. The president supports this recommendation. He's consulting with Parliament in terms of the Act, and in terms of the process, the committee considers this and makes a recommendation to the National Assembly, which resolves on it and makes a recommendation to support the President's determination based on the panel's recommendation. The salary increase is in line with all other Chapter 9 institutions which are currently serving in the National Assembly in plenaries, all the different components, and it's the general increase of if I'm not mistaken, 4.4%. We know what the remuneration package is, and we know what the new salary will then entail. I'm not sure why we should complicate it to defer it. Members, let me be guided by you, but I would want us to deliberate on the matter and say if we have an opposing view to this determination. If we do, express it. If we don't, then a report can be compiled that we can then just consider at our next meeting, but let's not delay deliberating on the matter. It is, as members have seen, that recommendation or determination by the President was already in January Yes, the parliamentary processes do take time, but I don't want our committee to be one that really pushes the boundaries of these type of things. I don't think it's proper. Honourable members, can I ask for any inputs on this matter? Is there agreement that we support this determination and the salary increase, or is there any are there any opposing views? Honourable members. I see in the chat that there's members that do support. Honourable Ligagaba supports. Any other views?
Chairperson, it's Honorable Subrathi. I will second Honorable Vilakazi in supporting the report before us. Thank you, Chairperson, and the recommendations.
Thank you very much, Honourable Subrathi. That assists. And with that, we then, the report can be compiled, Mr. Mgaji, and serve at our next meeting, then just for consideration. And it can then be tabled, ATC'd, to serve in the House as soon as possible. Thank you very much, honourable members, for your inputs and your participation in this meeting. It is valuable, and let us then close. Also want to thank the support staff and for all the diligent work that they do, especially Zubaida. Thank you for your preparation for this meeting, and all the other staff involved as well. Let's close the meeting. Once again, thank you very much. Honourable Subrati, you are in time for your webinar to a large extent. Honourable Muwali.
Yes, Chair. We also, as Mkontos, would like to indicate that we support the recommendation by the panel to the President. Because, Chair, from determination, the increase was supposed to be the 1st of April. So to delay this any further, I think it would be prudent also for the committee. So we then
Thank you, Honourable Muwali. You're there's a little bit of an interference, but I think we did get the fact that you do support. Thank you, honourable members. Have a good weekend, and we'll communicate with regards to a date for our special meeting to consider then this report and also the committee's APP. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chair.
Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Colleagues.
Enjoy your
Good weekend to
weekend.
all.
Bye-bye.
Programa, Chairperson, programa.